Yume Nikki fan games. There are so many. I've talked about a handful of them before: .flow, Nishi, LCD-DEM, and Answered Prayers. All of these games were developed independently, each by a single person. But in the meanwhile, there is something big boiling in the RPG Maker pot. Not a fan game as much as it's meant to be a successor. A sequel. It was a large collaborative effort between many users of the Japanese website 2chan. Yume Nikki was developed by one person, so to go the extra mile and make something truly special, a team of people would gather to cook something up. The result is Yume Tuki. Spoken out loud in Japanese, it actually reads the same as the original, Yume Nikki. The pun is that the Japanese word for two is ni, so, you know, Nikki. To put it in perspective, it'd be as if they called Splatoon 2 Splatoon. To avoid any confusion, I'll just be calling the game Yume Tuki, while referring to the original as Yume Nikki. Now, it's a pretty big deal to claim that your fan game is a sequel. I mean, we're talking about a game that's inspired hundreds of fan games, some of which are really good. But this isn't just a fan game. It's a freaking sequel, a successor. We're not making Yume Nikki 0.5 or Yume Nikki spin-off or whatever. They're making Yume Nikki 2. So this better be good. The first thing I notice is the title screen music is a sped up, more upbeat version of Yume Nikki's theme. Very different than .flow's theme song, which was a complete opposite, a slowed down, more morbid version. Perhaps they'll be treated to more pleasant dreams this time instead of, nightmares. Yume Tuki stars Urosuki, a little girl with a sick haircut and a stylin' purple sweater. They did a pretty nice job fitting a plaid on the sprite and making it look good like that, because, normally that's hard to do, fitting a shirt design on a teeny tiny sprite like that. Then again, I guess Yume Nikki did it just fine too with the design on Matsuki's shirt. But either way, we've already got something iconic here. Even if you don't remember the character's name or exactly what she looks like, you'll probably remember those purple stripes. The pattern itself has actually been referenced in other fan games. That's a nice rug. I should get a rug like that. The bedroom's exactly what you'd expect by now. Bed, TV, game console, balcony, the works. However, the design of Urosuki's room is a lot more visually pleasing than that of other fan games. The balcony is also facing north instead of south like every other fan game I've played. With a different orientation, you can see off into the distance. Urosuki's got a pretty nice view. A nice little detail is that the time of day will change as you wake up again and again. Sometimes it's the morning, sometimes it's night, and sometimes you get this nice sunset. Going to sleep enters the dream world, with the countdown during the transition being replaced by a cloud bubble encompassing a sheep that swoops in slowly and tumbles away. It's faster, it looks better, I like it. This is just one of the many small improvements they've made from Yume Nikki. Another big improvement is the Nexus. Instead of doors of various color, we now have several objects that directly reference the theme of the world it leads to. For example, the geometric shape leads to the geometry world, the lamppost leads to the lamppost world, the mushroom leads to the mushroom world. It's really straightforward. I no longer find myself going through door after door after door after door to remember which one brings me to the candle world anymore. Good stuff. The Nexus is no longer silent, but is instead accompanied by a really nice ambient track. The music overall has seen quite an upgrade. I mean, we've still got those 2 to 6 second ambient loops, but a lot of screens have much longer loops now, and some even with legitimate songs. Having multiple people work on the music and sound really made Tuki's sound design stand out. The guy who made LCD-DEM was even on board for a number of tracks. There's 13 worlds accessible from the Nexus, barely outnumbering Yume Nikki's 12. They're all iconic in their own right too, some of which I would argue even more so than Yume Nikki. I mean, in that game we had a lot of plain black backgrounds with just something weird splattered everywhere, whether it be eyeballs or candles or puddles or... The worlds here have a lot more detail, like the mushroom world. It's a legit map, it's not just a black background with objects scattered around. Not to say those still don't exist, I mean, it's so iconic at this point you really can't not include it. The graveyard world, for example, simple black background, lots of weird things. But the deeper you go, the more elaborate things become. Simple looping screens become apartment complexes with a number of residents, rocky mountains hiding a laboratory, or a Japanese town complete with buildings you can enter and back alleys to explore. It branches so far away from the simplistic nature of Yume Nikki's maps, and in that aspect, I kind of feel it more strongly represents what a dream is really like. I mean, how many dreams do you have about a black space with the occasional weird thing floating around? I don't know about you, but my dreams always take place somewhere I'm really familiar with, a location I've been to a number of times, whether it be my high school, the mall, a friend's house, or sometimes even a setting inside a video game. I think I can best describe my dreams as weird things happening at otherwise normal places. And in that way, I identify with Yume Nikki's maps a lot more frequently than I did with Yume Nikki's. You know, that dream you had where the fish swam in the air around the buildings, or seeing that giant wolf in the woods. And from there on, things get weirder and weirder and frighteningly strange and... what is going on? Okay, bear with me here. Yume Nikki, kinda creepy game. There's only like 3 actually scary things in it, but you know, it's pretty eerie here and there. Yume Nikki takes that spook switch and cranks it. I mean, the game overall has a much more positive atmosphere than Yume Nikki, and then out of nowhere, you're brought somewhere that's, not doing this. Yume Nikki, pretty creepy game. Flow, really creepy game. Yume Nikki, every corner you turn, there can just be something terrifying sitting there. The one that got me the worst is this damn face in the museum. Okay, see, you need this lamp effect since everything's so dark, but unlike other dark areas, it doesn't light up the whole place, but rather just a couple of feet in front of you. But anyway, you're walking around and you start hearing these noises. Like, what is that? And before you know it, you're looking at this damn thing. Another one that really freaked me out was Zalgo. In the Magnets world, you can end up at a screen with this beautiful face looking at you from the background. The more time you spend here, the more unstable the map becomes, and the more decayed and freaky Zalgo's face gets. But probably the most iconic and well-known freaky thing in this game is Smile-san, also commonly known as Laughing Man or Telephone Man. I like to call him the heh guy. It's a gigantic dude sitting on a bed, and every now and then he lets out this creepy giggle. And it's creepy because that's a giggle you don't think should come out of a guy looking like him. But if you use the phone effect... That's enough to drive a person insane. But this really does seem like something you would see in a dream. Walking into a gigantic room with a strange man sitting on the bed, and he begins to laugh at you when you try to use the phone. Luckily, you don't need to encounter anything too freaky to get all the effects, though you will have to dive pretty deep for them. Like any fan game, there's a handful of effects cloned directly out of Yume Nikki. We got a sick little motorbike in place of the bicycle, and a lantern in place of the street lamp, and a freaking chainsaw instead of a knife. It looks like since this is a sequel, they wanted to create a cooler version of Madosuke. She's got cooler hair, a cooler ride, cooler weapon. Hell, in this game, instead of getting turned into a cat, you turn into a freaking wolf. That's badass. You can even combine a handful of the effects. For instance, the bike and the wolf effect can both be equipped at the same time. Though there's not many more of these, and I feel it's under-implemented, but it is a sweet new idea that hasn't been done yet. Yume Nikki sports a whopping 34 effects total. That's a big list to scroll through. It makes searching for the desired effect a chore when you're playing the Japanese version, though it's perfectly fine if you're playing with the English patch. The English version of the title screen reads Yume Nikki squared for some reason, but we won't be playing the English version because the latest version doesn't have an English patch yet, so I get to have fun aimlessly mashing through menus and hoping for the best when it comes to selecting effects. Though I gotta say, the way the effects are arranged is already a huge step ahead of other fan games. It doesn't matter what order you get them in or how many you have, the bike is always number one. That's the thing you use most in any fan game, the one that makes you go faster. And being able to mash through the menu so fast to get on it is already a notable improvement. And come to think of it, the important effects are all near the top. The chainsaw's number 2 with the lantern and fairy following shortly after. It's a really simple thing, the order of the effects, but not many other games do this, and the convenience is just really good. You need the effects a lot more often to advance in Yume Nikki than you did Yume Nikki. In the original game, there's only a handful of areas you needed something else to gain access to, and even then, it boiled down to just one of 3 or so effects. For example, needing the umbrella or the Yuki Onna effect to douse the flames. Nikki does a great job of expanding on this. A lot more of the effects will grant access to different areas, and there's a healthy spread around too, not nailing an entrance to a single effect. For example, any gap you need to float over, you can use either the spacesuit or the ferry, and any small entrance you need to squeeze into can be done with both the child and the ferry effects. With the game being so big and there being no guarantee you're gonna happen to find that one you need, it's good that there's more than one that'll do the trick. Some of the effects are pretty convoluted to get, which is expected, but I find in this game a lot more so than others. The Gakuren effect, for example. First you have to find a way to the monochrome Japan area. Okay, challenging, but doable. Then you have to navigate this. Like, look how big it is. Where do you go? This door. You go in this one here. Not any of the other, you gotta go here. And the maze is back. It's good. Though to be fair, the maze in this game is a lot better than other games. It's a central hub that leads to a lot more areas. And with more exits, you'll find yourself lost in it for a much shorter amount of time. But, you know, still I'd just rather there not be a maze for once. The maze is also made of intestines. That's gross. But that's kind of cool because I'm positive that's a reference to the Intestines Maze and LSD Dream emulator. Hey, I follow some of these guys on Twitter, like lol, they know about this game. It inspires their games. I know that. So there's no way that's not a reference. The most notable case of a hard-to-find effect would be the bat wings. First, you need to use the Teru Teru Bozo effect to make it rain, and then use the rainbow effect to create a rainbow bridge across a lake. Without Yume Nikki's wiki by my side, I never would have figured that out. While I'm on the subject, I may as well give a good shout out to the wiki and everyone who's contributed to it. It's easily the most detailed and helpful wiki I've ever seen accompany an RPG Maker game. Complete with detailed instructions on how to gain access to every area, event, and effect with large detailed maps for nearly every area in the game. Many effects will also change the way some NPCs act. This is what's known as a passive effect, something that indirectly impacts the world around you without any direct input. There's also some functions introduced via effects that haven't really been explored in fan games yet, like the glasses effect that'll allow you to see invisible objects. You know, just pop them on and oh god, that kind of scared me. Oh man, I didn't even talk about the game console yet. You know, the one that's always got one game on it and it's not even really worth mentioning. Tuki's actually got a whole slew of games on it. There's one called Gimmick Runner. It's just an obstacle course side-scroller game. It's a nice distraction, but not much more. But there's also a handful that play just like Yume Nikki, where you control your character and explore a place. I could never get anywhere in them though, so I honestly don't know too much about them. Oops. There's also a sliding block puzzle minigame, which I hate because I suck at them a lot. You don't start with very many, but you can unlock more by exploring the dream world and finding certain areas or NPCs. You'll also unlock the wallpapers the same way. Oh, I forgot to mention that too. You have a computer in the room, and that's how you save the game, but there's also other things you can do on it too. You can listen to all the music you've heard in the game so far, and also change the desktop wallpaper. You only start with 2, but there's a bunch you can unlock by exploring the dream world, 177 in total. Sometimes it's as simple as accessing a certain map for the first time, sometimes you'll have to interact with something or trigger an event. The wallpapers were all drawn by different artists, many of which didn't really have any further involvement in the game, but there's even one by Lol, the creator of .flow. I don't know which one it is, I just saw his name in the credits under the wallpaper section, but I've also seen talk on Uboa-chan of the sprites in this area here being designed by him. Wouldn't surprise me because it looks a lot like something out of .flow. Man, Yume Nikki really goes past just being a sequel. It's a celebration of Yume Nikki and all of its fan games. The dev of LCD DEM even did some of the game's music, but not only that, there's direct references to so many fan games. There's a room in the game where you can change your clothes, and every outfit is from a different game. We've got Sabitsukis, Usosukis, Chies, and even Florets. There's 2 outfits that I thought were from Mad Father and Eve, but it turns out they're actually from fan games called Farewell and Lost Game. However, there is a direct reference to Eve here. An acoustic song inspired by Eve makes an appearance in the game. It's even titled Merry Song for Eve. Interact with this NPC right here to hear it. I also like to imagine that this dude here in the Game Boy world is a reference to the batter from Off. It probably isn't, but I can at least pretend. Strangely enough though, Matasuki's outfit is nowhere to be seen. Though I suppose the point is to show the Yume Nikki fans some love rather than just worshipping the original game. Its purpose is to celebrate all of the amazing things this community has spawned, and that's only something a collaborative effort could achieve. Even still, there's a number of direct references to Yume Nikki, my favorites being having a dog version of Uboa being barely visible off screen of this world here, and a groovy incarnation of Masada in the basement of this place here. But that doesn't mean it relies on Yume Nikki's characters. There's so much new here that's iconic only to Yume Tuki. Popular examples being Aoshiru, the child in the hospital, the gas mask scientist who will put you in a room and experiment on you, making you smash your head against the wall until you wake up. But my favorite is definitely Yukata, a mysterious swordsman wearing a fox mask. Attempting to chainsaw him will have him dodge and leap behind you. Sometimes he'll even counterattack. Let's talk about the game's endings for a bit. Like .flow, it's got multiple endings. The first 3 can be done once you've collected all the effects. Pinching your cheek while you're awake will get you the first one. To get the second, there's now going to be a set of steps on the balcony. Walk up and jump off for the second ending, mimicking the ending of Yume Nikki. Though in this one, it turns out that Urosuki was a doll in a crane machine. A girl wins her and brings her home. I like this ending a lot. Maybe we've been exploring this girl's dreams, and Urosuki is just a character we experience it all through. Maybe the girl represents the player, exploring a world of her own imagination by selecting this character as the vessel. Imagine if that's what dreams were really like, an exploration of your own raw and unfiltered subconscious through the eyes of something as simple as a doll on the shelf. For the third ending, walk up the steps, but instead of jumping off, walk back down. Urosuki will kick the steps off the balcony and live to see another day. Those are just 3 of the standard endings. There's a handful you can obtain at any point in the game. Firstly, there's what's called the glitch ending. Upon sleeping in Urosuki's bed in the dream world version of her room, there's a 1 in 64 chance of being warped to a decaying version of her bedroom. Yeah, I don't even know what's going on here. The credits are all messed up like the game's glitching out, and then you wake up. But then there's this ending, which no one even really knows how to trigger. When you go to sleep, sometimes the steps will be on the balcony. Nobody knows why or whether you have to do something to trigger it or if it's random or what. As far as anybody knows, you go to sleep, sometimes it's there. It's only ever happened to me twice, and I don't mean twice in this playthrough, I mean twice ever. It's not much of an ending. You jump off like in Yume Nikki, but then wake up, because you know, it was a dream and not real. Another ending requires finding 3 hidden rooms and then equipping the glasses effect to see if there's a large bean emitting some sort of gas and messing up the room. After finding all 3 of these, you'll wake up and walk out to the balcony, but instead of walking out, Urosuki will vanish. She then re-enters the room with a deranged smile on her face and goes to bed. We then see that same bean now in her room before treated to a version of the credits with very strange music playing. But those ones are just a handful of the hidden endings. The final, true ending requires not just getting all the effects, but getting all the wallpapers too. Or at least like 97% of them or something like that. Remember when I said you didn't need to see many of the freaky things in the game to get all the effects? Well, if you want that 4th and final main ending, you're gonna have to see nearly everything in this game. Pretty much every notable thing unlocks a wallpaper. This might not include every single thing in the game, like this goddamn thing here, but it does mean making this guy laugh. It does mean going through Zalgo. It does mean having to navigate the Flesh Paths world, and it does mean seeing the majority of the terrifying things this game has to offer. And honestly, I like this. In Yume Nikki, there was so much to do, so much to see, but doing it all never reaped any sort of reward. Having all of this unlock another ending feels a lot more rewarding. But if there's anything this game fails to offer, it's any sort of story. Yume Nikki was always pretty open to interpretation, part of that interpretation being whether or not there even was a story, but it spawned fan theories that are all fun to read. And then along comes .flow that clearly has a story pieced together by all these vague details found in Sabitsuki's subconscious. But in the case of Yume Tuki, I personally just don't feel any sort of story radiating from this one. It seems to me that they were going more so for the expansiveness of the gameplay rather than telling some sort of story like .flow did. I see the unorganized visions of many people, not just one, and when that's the case, it's a lot harder to interpret something coherent from it. But this does work in a different way. It makes the game a lot more relatable. With so many ideas all from different people who all have different kinds of dreams, all crammed into the same game, you're bound to find something that reminds you of your own dreams. But whether or not you see everything the game has to offer can be left to total chance. There's so many areas that maybe you'll see that no one else you know will even get to. It reminds me a lot of LSD Dream Emulator. Now that's a game that's extremely random. So many events have really low chances of happening, and there's no real way to trigger them. Not only did I play this game quite a bit in high school, but I had friends that played it too. On emulator, of course, we didn't have copies of the thing at the time, but we'd always share the crazy stories of the unique things that would happen to us. Things that we couldn't get to happen again. You might have seen things that your friend would never see. Things that maybe he doesn't believe that you saw because there's no way to prove it because you couldn't get the game to do it again. It makes me wish that I had friends that played Yume Nikki like I did Dream Emulator, so I could have that same kind of experience. But hey, I might not be able to, but you guys can. Get some of your friends to play the game, play it all the same night, and talk about all the crazy places you saw when you see each other the next day. I guarantee you'll both have completely different experiences to share. And I guess that's the beauty of dreams. They're so weird, crazy, vivid, and unpredictable. It's why I love these games so much. There really isn't anything else like it. There aren't many other games out there that can capture and celebrate the human subconscious quite as well. Part of what makes Tuki such an accurate portrayal of dreams is its wild inconsistencies. The art style changes nearly every screen you enter. I feel Yume Nikki lends itself very naturally to the concept of dreams with its radically inconsistent art style. Things could be so poorly drawn they look like they were made in MS Paint on one screen and then have photorealistic backgrounds on the next. It's pretty easy to say that it definitely is worth calling this game the sequel to Yume Nikki. But simply, it's bigger and better, and it's continuously getting bigger, but in ways that celebrate an amazing community. But keep in mind, it's still not done. They're still updating the game to this very day. What do they plan on adding? Who can say? But I bet you anything, it's gonna be crazy.